Here's a live look outside the White House right now, where President Biden and Vice President Harris will be briefed on federal preparations for the landfall of Hurricane Milton. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang is bringing us the very latest on what they will hear. And Weijia, what do we know about how the president is preparing for Milton's landfall?
Well, he has been in close contact with the governor of Florida, who has been very cooperative, according to the president, as well as local officials. And of course, they are receiving briefings from various officials with the government, including FEMA, to talk about all the preparations that they are doing beforehand and about the response after. But the president's main message is whatever the
Here's a live look outside the White House right now, where President Biden and Vice President Harris will be briefed on federal preparations for the landfall of Hurricane Milton. CBS News senior White House correspondent Weijia Jiang is bringing us the very latest on what they will hear. And Weijia, what do we know about how the president is preparing for Milton's landfall?
Well, he has been in close contact with the governor of Florida, who has been very cooperative, according to the president, as well as local officials. And of course, they are receiving briefings from various officials with the government, including FEMA, to talk about all the preparations that they are doing beforehand and about the response after. But the president's main message is whatever the impacted states need, he believes they have so far as far as requests coming in. He said the governors have been very receptive, very open, very communicative, and now they just have to try to get the message out from the top down. And that's why we heard President Biden just yesterday saying, look, if you're hearing from your local officials to evacuate, it is a matter of life and death. And he also spoke about the misinformation out there, Liz, about how that is making it even more difficult to respond to what's about to happen to Florida. The president saying that it is un-American and that people really have to understand that the federal government is doing everything that it can to try to get them to safety. And that includes hundreds of FEMA workers who are physically helping to transport people who have medical needs out of the storm's way.
And Weijia, while we have you, I have to ask about President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. They held a phone call today to discuss the pending strike against Iran. What's the president's stance here?
Well, before tensions really started escalating, the president believed that there should be a ceasefire in the region, as well as one in Gaza. Of course, it's something that he has been trying to work toward now for the better part of a year. But with regard to the current conflict between Hezbollah and Israel and now Iran, I think the president in the past has pressed Israel to practice restraint, while also reiterating that the U.S. believes Israel has a right to defend itself. And so last week, when I asked President Biden about talking with the prime minister, he said that they would have a discussion after Israel decided how to respond to this latest Iranian strike. So it could have been that during this phone call that wrapped just a short time ago, Netanyahu did lay out his plan for a response. And we don't know exactly what the president said, but we are expecting more details from that call, Liz. But the bottom line from this administration is that they want to de-escalate. They want there to be some sort of a ceasefire. How we get there, though, is TBD.
Right. All right. Weijia Jiang live for us at the White House. Thank you so much, Weijia.
And you just know the kind of problems they'll have with water that high. And then as you head south, still very high water all the way down into sections of Englewood and all the way down to Port Charlotte. The tides are high. Well, they were this morning. They're heading for low tonight, right around 10:58 in Clearwater. Anna Maria will have a low tide at 10:27 in the morning, and then at 3:37 in the morning. And then high tide at 6:51 a.m., 4:21 a.m. in Sarasota. Look at the winds now. Wind gusts in St. Pete at 63. and that's still with the eye or the core still pretty far offshore, so it'll be higher. And this is the zone here where the winds will probably gust over 100 in the next few hours. That's that core we talked about a lot. In the core, we'll have 45, 60, gusts to 70, and then as you're watching us tonight, we'll follow that core, what's left of it, as it moves across the state. This is how it looks kind of visually. This should change on the 5 o'clock update, and I think it should. It seems like it's a little bit far south, but that's the 75-mile-an-hour plus winds, and then it kind of moves across the peninsula. It gets a little bit smaller and starts heading for the East Coast. A little update. I'll tell you one nice thing. I mean, the big scheme of things, I just checked the models ahead. Lower dew points. Wish we had lower dew points now, but this is how it's going to play into next week. A lot more coming up on Milton. Back to you guys.
All right, we're continuing to track the hurricane, and we will be back right after this. With officials expecting power to be out to potentially over 1 million people for an untold amount of time, what's the best way to stay safe? Fox 13's Evan Axelbank is live in Tampa now with some answers for us. Evan.
Yeah, first of all, I want to show you how things are doing out here. We're about 5 stories up on a parking garage here in downtown Tampa. Just take a look. Just over the side here, you can see the Hillsborough River coming down there, flowing south. Without a doubt, it's certainly a little bit higher than it normally is. We're, of course, waiting to see if we get that significant storm surge. And then just pan over here to the right a little bit. You can see here, take a look at that. That's the Cass Street Bridge, and you can see it is just an absolute ghost town here in downtown Tampa. Unbelievable. Incredible to see, and certainly that is an indication that people are heeding the warnings. We just spoke with officials from Florida Power and Light, which serves power and serves customers, about 500,000 of them in Manatee and Sarasota counties. They say they've got 50,000 line workers here and ready to go to restore power. First of all, when it comes to food, keep refrigerators and freezers closed for as long as possible. Obviously, if the power goes out, you should have as much non-perishable food as possible. Once it does go out, refrigerators only keep food cold for about 4 hours. Freezers do last a little bit longer, potentially 2 days. Now, having a cooler on hand with ice already filled up can be a real help. You should also have, of course, flashlights ready, and also charge cell phone battery backups and have those ready to go once that power does turn out. Florida Power and Light says they have thousands of line workers ready to go, and that some are already in the field working, reacting to outages in real time.
So the first thing is, remember that if the power is out in your home, we know. It is important for us to make sure that we can keep the power on your home as long as possible. If the power has been out on your home and you have damage, whether it's flooding damage, whether something has hit the electrical lines outside the house, something has hit your meter, so on, it will be very important for you to contact a licensed electrician to make sure your house is safe to receive power.
And when it comes to power, when it comes to being ready for the power to turn back on, appliances and other heavy electronics should be disconnected to avoid surges. Any food that rises to above 40 degrees should be thrown away. And also, of course, don't touch any generators or electrical equipment that is wet. Again, take a look. The rain is really coming down here in downtown Tampa right now. It even got harder over the last just couple of minutes that we've been standing here. Without a doubt, you can just see, I'm not sure how well it's coming across on screen, but no question the rain is coming in pretty hard. The wind, not yet. Not a lot of wind yet. I'm able to stand here. The rain is basically falling straight down, and we're not worried about any wind coming over us, at least right now. So we'll see how that changes over the next couple of days. Couple of hours. But again, look at that. Unbelievable. Downtown Tampa, ordinarily during rush hour here, it would be super busy right now, obviously. And right now, not a soul out here except us. Linda, Haley, back to you.
All right. Evan, a wealth of good information. Thanks so much.
And Evan, talking about those power outages, you know, one thing that will drive that is when these stronger winds come on shore. But we had so many tornadoes earlier that you look at the Duke Energy map, there's 1,000 out in Highlands County where there was some tornado activity earlier.
You were just tracking that a couple of hours ago, Jim.
Yeah, it was nonstop. I mean, at one point, we essentially had the entire county of Highlands County under a tornado warning. If not a tornado warning, it was a confirmed tornado warning. So, I mean, it's been a busy 4 or 5 hours now with these warnings, and we also got a number of pictures and video, and just absolutely amazing. I mean, we're always cautioning don't run outside to try and get this, but a number of these actually came from FDOT cameras, so we're safe. But just to look at these videos, it's just absolutely amazing to see something like this as well. Been on top of all the historic things that we're seeing with this, the tornado outbreak that we're dealing with this, this was that confirmed tornado, obviously, Palm Beach County. This looks somewhat like a wedge tornado. Wedge tornadoes are actually pretty rare, especially in a tropical system, because these are typically some of your most violent tornadoes. This looks more like what you had seen in Oklahoma or Kansas. And this was near Alligator Alley over towards Miles City, over into Palm Beach County. I mean, this one here. Now, it's important to remember, you can't look at a tornado and say, hey, this is an EF1 or 2.
Right.
This is determined by when they do a survey and they see the damage. So tornadoes are ranked by the damage that they do. So you can't tell that until after the fact, but that one looks like a pretty strong, devastating tornado. The one plus side is it's obviously in a less populated area where you saw that.
Yeah, those wedge tornadoes, though, I don't remember seeing a whole lot of those in Florida.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, you don't see that in Florida very often. And to see this in a tropical system, because what we're used to seeing is more of those cone, or those what we call rope tornadoes, or obviously we talk about the water spouts over the water. But here you go again, looking at this, and what you're seeing here, just the dropping of this whole mesocyclone. That's the whole base of the cloud is now dropping down and rotating here. And once again, when you have these wedge tornadoes, they're very fat tornadoes at the ground, and so that's what also makes these very dangerous and destructive as well, because you're covering so much more area on the ground that's dealing with that tornado. And because of that, and just because of the whole structure of these, ones. This looks more like your typical, this is what we would call a cone tornado. So a little bit more of a slender, but it starts to get a little wider right at the top. So that, again, those can be very strong as well, but that's a bit more what most people, when we talk about a tornado, that's what they think about. And here you see yet another example here, and just how quickly these come in, and when they're right on top of you like this, what you're dealing with is, this is what we call a rain wrap. So there's a tornado in there, but there's just so much rain around it, and many of these tornadoes, earlier on when me and Dave were talking about these, then when Valerie joined in, these are rain wrapped. These are the ones where we're always trying to caution people. Everybody wants to go outside and try and get that video or see it for themselves, which is often just a huge mistake, because you can have a situation like this where you can't tell when it's actually on top of you until it's too late. So this is,
you can't see it.
No, you can't see anything here except for just the obvious. Everything starts flying, and at that point, if you're outside, it could be too late for you before you even realize it. And that's a perfect example of rain wrapped, which is essentially any tornado that is basically just shielded by all that water and rain.
Before we move on, I just so impressed earlier watching you with the technology that we have today. I mean, you can tell people the street that storm is approaching and give them time to find shelter in the bathroom or someplace in the home.
It really, I mean, the technology has just grown tremendously since I started in this business, started Fox 13. I've been here almost 30 years, and when we went back, I mean, we couldn't do things like this. I mean, the resolution of the radar, but then to be able to zoom in right down to the street and look at all this stuff real time, just because of the computing technology and the radar technology that we have right now, is just simply amazing. And you want to use these things to really hone down to the people that need to know at that moment, because we talk about this at any moment. That information, that little tidbit that you give, could save somebody's life, and that's what this is all about.
Sure.
Hey, before we leave tornadoes, real quick, do you foresee this continuing into the evening with these tornadoes?
I'll say right now we've got a nice lull here, which is something we've been waiting for. There's certainly the possibility that we see more tornadoes.
Cars out and about. We're told that the driver is expected to be okay. It was just minor injuries, we're told. She was taken in ambulance to a local hospital to be checked out. But as far as police say, the person who was driving this Tesla just has minor injuries. That's the very latest right now here in Dallas. We'll go ahead and send.
Thank you. Well, that's another good reason not to be out on the road. You just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, emergency vehicles are trying to get to places where there are emergencies, so stay off the roads for now. Speaking of our first responders in Pinellas County, they're standing by as Milton comes on land. Fox 13's Brianna Arredondo joins us now from the Emergency Operations Center in Largo. Brianna, they're getting ready there. What are they doing as we see this storm get ever closer to our coastline?
Yeah, they're absolutely ready, Chris. This is the main staging area for this response to Milton. You can see behind me, everyone is just behind their computer screens. Right now, they're answering calls, passing along their main concerns for tonight are going to be storm surge for those coastal communities and also the winds. Now, we did step outside earlier today, and here's a look at what was the conditions outside of the Emergency Operations Center here. The rain was really coming down at that point, and also the winds were picking up when we were outside. Now, there will be a shelter-in-place alert that will be coming sometime later on this evening, when it will no longer be safe for people to be outside. We're told county officials say a lot of waiting over the last couple of days, and that is exactly what they want to see. Their shelters are also filling up. I just got an update saying that there's about 11,000 people who are in those county shelters here, and also about 615 animals as well. They did have to open up 3 more shelters earlier in the day today, because they really just wanted to have a spot for people to stay and shelter in place and be safe. Now, they do believe that people are taking this storm more seriously after, of course, just going through Helene. And we also spoke to a county spokesperson about the reports that they're getting in so far.
We're starting to get reports. One of the hazards and one of the dangers during a storm can just be travel, people going out in dangerous conditions.
Yeah, now, again, where we are, this building is in Largo. It houses the sheriff's office and emergency management. And during storms like this, they activate it. They have people here from a wide variety of agencies. They've got FWC that's here, Army is here, fire, police, sheriff's office, of course, utilities, FEMA,
so much damage from Hurricane Ian, and here we are again with more of a surge threat already starting to push into southwest Florida. We look down there first because they're starting to see those onshore winds